This is Out of the Garage. All right, welcome to the Out of the Garage podcast. I'm Rich Colo, your host, and joining me in the studio, as always, is my producer, my co-host, my tech, my tone junkie, the man, the myth, the legend, Nate.
Well, thank you.
Nate, stop sounding so excited.
I'll try.
All right. We're here at iMaster Studios in Grays Lake, Illinois. Perfectly situated about halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago as we're talking to artists who are trying to move their music out of the garage and get it so people hear it all over this great land. And per the usual, we have Mark Yoder behind the controls. Hopefully some of you have had a chance to see some of the video and pics we put up from the interview we did last week with the Flat Rats, and you can get an idea of the facilities where we're doing this podcast from. Nate, anybody you want to shout out to?
Well, first off, I think we want to say thanks to the Flat Rats for coming out last week. And also we want to say hello to our comrades in arms, Jeff, Thumper J, and Eric of One Ping Only. We do have some gigs coming up. We've got a gig with So Far So Bad, a band from Milwaukee. We're going to try to get them in the studio. And then on June 16th at the Mutiny in Chicago. And OPO is playing the Lake County Fair on July 27th. We're really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we are. That was a big deal for us. So that's a big deal for us, guys. Lake County Fair. Holy cow. So if you didn't yet get a chance to hear the interview with the Flat Rats, go back and check it out. They played a couple of numbers out in Week, the Harrison Ford song, and Lucy Liu. My daughter, she listened to the podcast and she responded back. She's like, "Oh my God, Dad, Lucy Liu is so good. I love that song." So it was good to have somebody, actually see some fan reactions from it. So you're not going to add anything, Nate?
Well, no, my wife said something very similar, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it seemed to resonate really well.
Yeah, so I like the witty banter we got going on here, so...
Really, I can't let it pass that you're talking about the Lake County Fair and then you say, "Holy cow."
Yeah.
I mean, that seems appropriate, doesn't it?
You're going to hear from these two gentlemen in just a second, but before we get to them, who do we got next week, Nate?
Next week, we've got a very interesting young singer and songwriter, Daniel Ray Scott. He's got a fascinating story. If you have any questions for him, we're on Facebook, Twitter. Submit it through the website, shoot me an email, anything like that, and we'll get your questions on.
We're also always interested in hearing band submissions. We have been using a combination effort at this point of bands we have found and bands that have applied. It's a great opportunity to get your band heard, which is the point of Out of the Garage. Here we like talking to musicians and artists who are just trying to pull their music to someplace where it can get heard. So then, let's start talking about the guys that are here today. When we first came up with the idea of starting this podcast, we figured our first problem would be finding artists, of course. We wanted to bring in experienced and interesting people to talk to and figured it wouldn't hurt if we actually liked their music too. So we started to reach out on the interweb and ask for people to write if they were interested in being interviewed for a new podcast. When we got the submission from Jungle of Cities, we knew immediately that this was exactly the type of band we wanted in the studio. So Jungle of Cities is here today with us. They are really, quite honestly, a polished and true Americana rock and roll. You hear it all in their music, as if the notes themselves have grown root in the soil of this country and hold deep into the earth. There's that defining American rock and roll edge, but you cannot help but hear those roots, the blues, the country, the folk. It's all sprinkled in there with a sophistication that can only be found with experienced and gifted musicians who have worked hard to perfect their craft. Jungle of Cities is going to be playing the East Room in Nashville, Tennessee on May 6th. We're going to be talking about some of their other gigs that they have coming up. But that's right, Nashville, Tennessee, they're going on a mini tour. Can you imagine if One Thing Only went on a mini tour, Nate? It would be it'd probably be a bad idea.
That's the center of music.
That's music, yeah, no kidding, right. They played lots of regional shows and festivals. We're going to have a great time talking to them, learning about their experiences. So allow me to introduce Tim and Eric from Jungle of Cities. Gentlemen, say hello.
Hey there.
Hello, how you guys doing?
We are really happy to be here. Thanks for being interested in the music and bringing us out here.
Well, we appreciate the time that you spent coming out here, and we hope that this is a good experience for both of you guys. So what I always like to do when I start these interviews, and this is going to be one of my things, I guess, I want to ask you about your elevator pitch. So let's stop for a second and let's imagine ourselves We're downtown Chicago. We're walking to some large skyscraper. The elevator doors open. You're getting on the elevator, and lo and behold, there's the president of Sony Records standing there next to you. And you know it's the president of Sony Records because he's wearing a shirt that says, "I am the president of Sony Records," because we could all identify him easier that way. So now the elevator doors closed. You got 20 seconds to convince this guy that he needs to listen to Jungle of Cities. What do you guys tell him?
So you've got to listen to Jungle of Cities. You really have to listen. So we like to think of ourselves as a cross between maybe it's Nick Cave meets Think Floyd meets Bob Dylan, all kind of thrown in a blender and whirled around. And you hit it right, the nail right on the head when you started talking about this sense of Americana to bring some of the influence and the feel of blues and rock and put it all together, but have a contemporary kind of approach, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Yeah, I mean, kind of those artists that you listed. If you took
Get on that mic.
If you took Buddy Holly and threw in some Muse and add a little bit of Brian Setzer Orchestra into one song or into one album, that's kind of what defines us. We kind of pride ourselves in kind of going all over the place. We play a little bit
those are our heroes, but we have more heroes. So a lot of our heroes are literary. So, I'm reading Walt Whitman. I'm reading the work of the Beat poets, Allen Ginsberg. I'm reading contemporary writers in anthropology and in philosophy, Chris Hedges and Jared Diamond.
How about Neil Hilborn? Have you heard that guy yet? He's a poet.
No.
I started stumbling upon all these YouTube videos from the guy. I think it's Neil Hilborn is his name. And it's like it's like that poetry slam kind of thing.
Right.
Oh my God, so moving, so incredible. And even though it's not quote unquote music.
Right.
It's incredibly musical.
Sure.
It's the way that the pacing and all those types of things, you can hear the music coming through it.
I've got to hunt him down. But that's it. All of this kind of material informs how we write. And I think that, Eric and I met this, we talked before that this was kind of a Craigslist kind of semi-chance meeting. But I think, the minute that we were working together, everything kind of pulled together. It really gelled.
So let's stop for a second and make sure the audience is clear. When we talk about random chance meetings on Craigslist, that could bring in a number of possible thought processes. So I assume you guys were on the musician section of Craigslist, right?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Among others, of course.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
But it's okay if people want to do that.
That's right.
Fine.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
No
We're not
judgment.
We
gonna judge.
cast no aspersions.
We're judgment free around here.
That's right.
So let's start off here with Jungle of Cities. First of all, the name. Where did the name come from, Jungle of Cities? It's interesting.
Getting back to literary, and there's the long story, but I'm going to give you the short story. So, of course, Bertolt Brecht wrote a play called In the Jungle of Cities. Bertolt Brecht had read Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, which is, of course, based on Chicago and the stockyards. So you've got the connection to Chicago and of course, two literary geniuses. So
That's so similar, Nate, to our story with One Ping Only.
course, yes.
Because we're named after...
A literary masterpiece.
Yeah, Hunt for Red October, Tom Clancy. And
One
when Sean Connery tells his captain to one ping only, please. And that's where we got the name One Ping Only.
That's a fantastic Sean Connery, by the way.
Thank you. That's the only one I can do.
well,
I'll do other people later, maybe.
that's not true. I bet you can do We're Sitting Ducks here. So you're that close to being called We're Sitting Ducks.
But here's the thing though. So Jungle of Cities then, basically, how long has Jungle of Cities been a thing? Let's start there.
That's going on 6 years. Somewhere along the line, I come back to performing. I start reaching out, looking for a band. The solo singer songwriter thing never was something I was interested in. And you know, you go through different variations of personnel, and you know, it's a hard road. You know, original music is a hard road to kind of go down, and not everyone can stick with it, and people's lives change, of course.
Well, expand on that for a second, if you could. I mean, what do you mean that original music is? You know, it's,
Well,
that it's not an easy thing. Yeah, go ahead.
So, like, if you're going to play in something like a cover band or a tribute band, right? You're playing music that's already been established, that has kind of a built-in fan base already. People tend to, when they go to a bar, they go to a club, or wherever you're playing. If you're playing something that's familiar to them, they're gonna groove on that. That's what they're into. That's, you know, nostalgic to them or whatnot. So it's a little bit more difficult to build. You know, if you're playing a cover band and a tribute band, there's years of that built-in stuff already. If you're starting an original band, you're starting from like the seed level. So you've got this idea of what your voice is going to be like and what your songs are going to sound like.
So Tim, then when you start, then, I mean, what causes it? So this really then becomes the why, right? I mean, if you've been doing this for 6 years, and Jungle Cities has been a thing for 6 years, right? When did you write your first song? I mean, let's go back in time. Roll the clock back.
You'd have to go back to me as like a 6 or 7 year old kid on a swing set, and some type of lyric got stuck in my head. You know how sometimes you'll hear a song and that song sticks with you the rest of the day? For me, it would be a line of a lyric, a hook that would just stick in my head, that, you know, that came from wherever, you know, and popped into my head, and that never goes away. And that started when I was a child.
So at what point do you go, I know, I'll write a song? Do you understand the question? So, like, I mean,
So it all-
you know what? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you get to, if you always, you know, you're getting these things in your head, right? But, you know, you could have just written them down as poetry, right? You didn't have to put them to music.
Right. But they were coming to me as music. So, yeah, and that's never really stopped. So even, you know, years and years away from not performing and not really focusing and writing, they were still coming to me. So that you know, wherever that's coming from the universe, whatever that is still hitting me, and that's, you know, what still drives me. You know, it's not like it's disappearing, and it's not like it's uninteresting to me. As a matter of fact, I, you know, still wake up in the morning and something will hit me, and then I got to write it down,
Right,
and start a song.
So then, about 6 years ago, then. So now we're winding the clock back. So you've been writing music for longer than 6 years.
Right.
And so about 6 years ago, you decide, I'm going to start Jungle of Cities. And you start looking for people to fill in, right?
Right.
For the rest of the band. How do you go about looking for people?
Well, you know, so I'm mentioning Craigslist. I think that's been a lot of how that's happened. But then, you know, once you start associating with people who are playing music, and then you meet someone else, and all that. So, for instance, eventually, you know, I kind of connect with Eric, and all of a sudden I find, you know, basically a musical soulmate there. Well, Eric has all these connections. So,
So
Eric,
let me, not to interrupt, but Eric, so why don't you talk about that formation where then you end up joining with Tim and being part of Jungle of Cities. How did that happen for you?
So it was, and what I'll say, kind of the thing about Craigslist is that it wasn't kind of that miracle meeting. As you kind of said, Tim had gone through 6 years of kind of finding or not finding the folks that were totally, you know, dedicated to something like this. But I saw the ad on Craigslist. We got together and we started playing, and Tim's music kind of really, it spoke to me. There's something within his music that's really real and human. And, you know, everyone has that Beatles song where you're like, man, he wrote that just for me. Well, there's a few moments in some of Tim's lyrics that feel that way. So that's kind of testament to his songwriting and you know how good he is at putting together a song and an idea into a song. And so that kind of hooked me. And then you know, I started playing along with him a little bit more, and I'm connected with a few other bands. And there's a keyboard player, Kyle, that I had been playing with, who has decades of experience, session player from California. And I thought he would be a great fit to kind of fill in the sound a little bit more and add add a little bit more soul to it.
So we only have 2 pieces here today of Jungle of Cities.
Yep.
How many
Right.
pieces are there in total? Why don't you give shout-outs to the rest of your band?
Sure. So there's 6 total. So there's Tim and I. There's Kyle on keyboards. There's Mia, who plays bass, and Pete, who plays the drums for us, and then Sarah, who's a female vocalist who sings alongside Tim. So
And-
six of us.
And so, in listening to you guys, what I picked up on was that, like, there was, I wouldn't say it was a wall of sound, but it was full. Like, your sound as a band is incredibly full. And, that's got to be something that you're striving for, right?
Right. That's on purpose. Yeah.
And so then how and then with these other people you found, is this all, again, is this random happenstance from people you guys know, or?
No. So Eric was alluding to the fact that Kyle and Eric worked together in a tribute band called Think Floyd. And that is kind of a national touring band. So, you talked about the polish, and a lot of it comes from Eric and Kyle, their years of experience together at a very high level. They play in front of thousands of people. So that's been this huge boost. But of course,
Oh, turn it.
Of course, it's a tribute band.
Right.
So the outlet to do original music. So even new songs, I'll bring, or Eric will bring ideas and songs into the studio, into our practice space, and we will work them up right then. So everyone is collaborating. So Mia's writing her own charts. Eric is developing hooks and licks that are the signature to the song.
So then, why don't you guys give us a song? Is that all right?
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what's the first song that you guys are going to do for us?
So I had mentioned before about Walt Whitman. So there's a famous, and I encourage everyone to read it, famous poem, an epic poem.
Is this
by-
the one about masturbation? That's the only Walt Whitman poem that I know off the top of my head, about shaking my white lilies or white dew at the lilies with care, something like that.
Well, almost bingo.
Almost bingo, see?
Close.
Of course, that's the Walt Whitman. Everybody listens to
there
that
is
one.
some
Everybody
material
knows that one.
always in his stuff, but this is from Song of Myself.
Okay, yes.
So there's a line or two that informs this song from from Song of Myself. But I think I needed to write my own kind of version.
Right,
of it.
right.
That's how that goes. Were you going to say something?
No. Let's play. It's Blades of Grass.
Born defenseless neath this African sky, the heat is bliss before the scourge. There's cold and lifeless in a burden entrenched and gazing down from a barren moon of sweat and toil, earth and blood. I've earned and spoiled my share, taking naked faith from these unbridled runes, good and bad, has led me here. I see the newborn sun among these silent stars, I stand in a great divide. I see the pages unfold in these blades of grass, and I'll be here waiting beyond the rise. Once free of malice, once full of grace, we follow the ebb and flow. Now deceived, divided, hunted and cursed, we do our best beyond these walls. Now soldier, traitor, jester and priest, butchers, bankers, traders of time, we are seamstress, midwives, tempters and pranks, we dig our grave deep and wide. I see the newborn sun among these silent stars, stand in the great divide. I see the pages unfold in these blades of grass, and I'll be here waiting beyond the rise. Mothers, daughters, fathers and sons, brothers and sisters all. Onward, outward, there's no collapse, gathering all that came before. We were never tame and we were never broke. We're all refugees by birth. Lightning strikes, freedom crashes and calls. We make heaven right here on earth. I see the newborn sun among these silent stars, stand in a great divide. I see the pages unfold in these waves of grass, and I'll be here waiting. I see the newborn sun among these silent stars, stand in a great divide. I see the pages unfold in these blades of grass, and I'll be here waiting beyond the rise.
Very nice. Very nice.
I agree. We need to bring more people in here for more applause.
Hey, Nate, why don't you write songs like that?
Well, I'm not that good. That's why.
It's a simple answer.
Simple and honest is the best policy, right?
Right? Yeah.
So what was the name of that song? That was
Blades of Grass.
Yeah, that was Blades of Grass off of the Devil's Work CD that we actually just released but earlier this year.
so and that CD's available on various sources.
Absolutely. It's available on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, actually. It's, SoundCloud.
We've actually got the OOTG podcast on Spotify. The playlist has got all those songs in it, so people can just tune in and listen. So they can go there. It's a really easy source to find all the music from the artists that we sit in here in the studio with and interview.
Also, if you tend to show up to one of our shows, we oftentimes will give you one for free.
Well, there you go.
Just
that's the greatest policy in the world.
just saying, just putting it out there.
One of those things that a great story I heard about was the Arctic Monkeys. The Arctic Monkeys had they started playing out and they just had all these CDs made and they were just like, here, just take them. They were just like giving them away, and it became like this whole underground thing. Like people had Arctic Monkey CDs. And then they were like, oh my God, you guys hear these guys? These guys are so good. And then all of a sudden there was this groundswell. They didn't even know it. And people started they started doing shows and thousands of people are showing up for these little clubs. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And it was because they were just giving those CDs away. It catches on that way. I think that's a great policy for musicians who are trying to get heard. I mean, at that point in your career, it just, let's face it. Are we ever going to become famous and rich doing this? The odds are against us, right?
Right. I mean, the way that I always used to think about it was that, I don't feel like spending 99 cents on your song, but if your music is great, I'll spend $20 to come and see you at a club.
Right,
to
right,
do
right,
the
right.
actual work that you're putting on records.
Right.
That's always been my philosophy, and we're willing to work for your $10 at the door too.
So you guys find each other. You assemble this band. I'd imagine that over 6 years, is anybody currently in the band? Have they besides yourself, Tim? Has anybody else made the 6-year journey with you?
So the longest person involved is Sarah. Sarah's the vocalist who sings with me, Sarah Avampado. And I think when, some of the better of our songs are when her and I are singing together. Now, we don't sing harmony, and we really don't even sing in unison.
When that happens, it's magical.
Exactly. It's almost kind of like a tug of war, actually. And I think that works pretty well. She has a trained, wonderful, strong voice. And so that actually, it gives me total freedom to be as goofy sounding as I am or whatever. But it allows me to play. So I can do a character kind of thing in my voice when it calls for it. And she's right there, nailing it all home. So she's got a beautiful voice. You'll hear it on the recordings.
It gives us a lot of variety too. So in a particular song, Tim may deliver the majority of the lyrics, and then there'll be a line or two that Sarah gets to deliver purely on her own. And when the timbre of voice changes, and your ears trained to hear Tim's voice throughout, and then you hear Sarah's female voice, it really kind of sets off her little section there. It's really fun.
So, and then how long? So Sarah's been the longest tenured, and how long has she been with you?
That must be like going on 4 years.
Okay, so that means over the course of 6 years, you've seen a lot of turnover too.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you talk about that? What were some of the bad experiences that you had?
Oh, no.
Yeah, come on. We're not going to name names.
We're not going to dish dirt. If anything, I dish dirt on the current group because that would be more humorous.
What have I done that pissed you off?
Exactly, right?
Well, you know what? That's a good question. So, no, but this is the way I want to ask it, though. Eric, what do you think the rest of your bandmates, what is the one thing about you that the rest of your bandmates go, you know what? I hate it when Eric does X.
They probably all think I'm too loud. I get that a lot. Like,
I
you're
never
really,
think
in a kind of a
Too loud? You mean the guitar is too loud?
Yeah, my amp or my rig or whatever. I get the kind of little subtle, trying to be kind. Like, you're a little loud today. Okay.
Well, they clearly don't understand that the guitarist
Message
is the most important person in the band.
I fully agree. But
Now, wait a second. You're kind of turning this into the Newlywed Game.
You're right, I am.
what's the prize?
That's exactly right. So Tim,
I'll go in the booth.
So Tim, what do you think what's the one complaint you think that the rest of the members in the band have about you?
I can answer this one.
No, he needs to answer it.
Okay.
We have to see how
that's-
self-realized he is.
Yep.
Right?
First off, I can't limit it to just one.
Well, that's good.
So there'd
actually.
be like a 10 commandment list, I'm sure. Tim shall not this and Tim shall not that if they had their way. But I actually am so thrilled to have the current lineup. Really phenomenal musicians, and even our more newer members or less experienced member. So Mia Blix, I found her on Craigslist, and really, I reached out to her, and she sent me some links to YouTube videos. And if I would play that for you, you would think, oh, wait a second, that doesn't really fit. But I don't know, I just saw just a little something in her fingering and things like this. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, can you do this and that? And, within a few hours, she recorded another video, and she worked up an excellent bass pattern and, somewhat complicated and really nailed it and sent that to me. And it was like, well, if you can do that with almost no time or whatever,
right?
What would happen if you played with us for 6 months or a year or whatever? And you can attest to how.
Oh yeah, that's a really interesting thing. That's about what works about this band. Is you have someone like Kyle, the keyboard player, who's had 30, 40 years of session experience and playing with famous people, and just he has a list a mile long of accomplishments musically, all the way to Mia, who this is probably her first band and some of her first live on stage experiences with us, and being the youngest member of the band at, I think she's 22 or something.
Yeah.
So we have that diverse of members in this band, and she hangs right in there along with us, and it's no problem
Well,
at all. for her.
so here's what I think.
Testament to how good she is.
And so here's what I think is always the problem when you start dealing with what there's naturally assembled bands and there are unnatural assembled bands. And naturally assembled bands are usually like a bunch of guys that are friends, and they kind of go, hey, you know what? Let's start a band, right? And so they got that base friendship, right? So when Nate tells me, Rich, you're being a real son of a bitch today, I can go to Nate, hey, fuck off. And then the next, within 10 minutes, we're laughing and joking with each other today.
That is about how that goes usually.
Someone ends up crying.
Right. No, well, just one time. But we have that because, there's a certain amount of friendship there, right, that is built over the course of years. And so, I feel really fortunate to have that because the other thing that I think it does is that it gives us a certain loyalty, right? Like, I'm very, very loyal to Nate. Nate's loyal to me. There's 2 other members in our band. There's Jeff and there's Eric. These guys have joined in with this to make this noise. That's really what we do is we just make noise, right?
It approaches music.
It approaches music, but it's more noise. And so we're making this noise, and it kind of unites us. But we have this loyalty between us because we're friends. So, and I think that's always the difficult part when you start going to like Craigslist and things like that, right? Because then you don't have that loyalty. Like I can go, you know what? He's a son of a bitch, and I'm never coming back, right? So how do you negotiate that? I mean, what do you think? How does that get negotiated for Jungle of Cities?
I think it kind of comes with the territory of when you first make contact with him. It's the environment that Tim creates for you. So when you first make contact with him, and kind of my story in joining the band was that I had a couple of email exchanges with him. He saw, my capabilities through some samples and online or whatnot, and then I was spoken to as if I was in the band. I'm a member almost. You're a member almost instantly, and you're a brother, and you're a trusted confidant. So
talk about that then. It sounds like then you guys have a pretty open, like, you guys have to really keep the lines of communication completely open between you, right?
Absolutely. And all right. So One Ping is original music,
right?
And so you're kind of on that road together.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's a little bit different. So maybe, the usual band issues kind of get pushed to the way because this is a collaboration. You can't do it without Nate and
but also, Tim, this band, they put an amazing amount of trust in you, right?
Absolutely.
Because how much, the majority of the music, how much out of the music that is Jungle of Cities, how much of it is what you write, Tim?
So
all but 2 songs, maybe.
You see, but that means that you have to give a lot of trust to Tim.
Absolutely, and I do because what I will say is that there's been those moments, kind of like I mentioned before, where there's maybe been a few times where you're like, oh, geez, with this project, but then there's been songs of Tim's that have gotten me through a really tough time or something.
Oh, that's beautiful, right?
I can't let that go. I kind of owe that to him. So it's just little things like that where you develop over time, or you maybe don't even realize it's happening. But there's a reason to stick with a band, and I almost feel like the longer you can stay together as whatever lineup, you're almost guaranteed you're going to find some success. Every original band that's out there lasts maybe 6 months or a couple months or whatnot. If you can stick it out, if you can have that trust in somebody,
right,
or keep that trust in somebody
right,
for a year or longer, things will just start happening because you're working as a team.
So, what I want to say is that it's still this tremendous collaboration. So I've written melodies and I've written lyrics, and until it kind of takes life with the hooks and the licks that Eric writes, or the bass lines, or the some of the elements that Kyle does on the keys, and of course, the drums holding everything together. Until it really happens like that.
Well, hold on a second. Let's not give the drummer too much credit, right?
I agree.
Right. I mean, let's be honest. There's only so much credit you have to give to a drummer.
No,
I'm joking, of course.
But up until that
I'm not Eric, and you can hear me. Okay, go ahead.
Up until that point, you're going to get bored just listening to me play, on my acoustic guitar. So that whole full band sound that you're talking about is part of it, and it is the collaboration, and it's the right personalities. I think when we meet and we become band together, it's about friendships and forming that. And I try to stay away from people that aren't going to gel in that environment. And one last thing is the content of the songs as well. you can't join the band if you don't have a certain perspective on life. Not like I'm holding out a card that you can't join the band because of this and that. I'm saying literally, it's a hard.
What did the card say, Eric? What did the card say?
It was just a picture of the no gun symbol.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, that's fine.
Good.
That's fine.
But literally, you can't get involved in it unless you're not about the songs as well.
Right.
So, there's a certain message through, running throughout. I mean, we have some fun
Yeah, and
with
I
some
think
things
that's-
as well. But if you're not into that, you're not going to be happy.
I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good point that you made. Actually, that you get to this point with the original. Yeah, hold on to that. You get to this point when you're doing original music, right? And you start. You really kind of form into this. It kind of brings you closer together as a group, right?
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, okay, you guys gonna do a second song?
I think so.
Absolutely.
What's the name of the song?
This is we're trying to do some things here that are not necessarily what we do with the full band, but this one is a full band one, and it's loud and it's raucous and it's a lot of fun. Not as deep as the other one, but it's plenty of fun. And this is actually a tune that Eric wrote and brought to us, and I put together.
Look
some-
at that, Eric.
Yeah,
Tim is
you
so
too.
nice to you. He's letting you do a song.
Yeah, right?
Woo! One of Eric's songs.
Don't be saying it that way.
Because people are always at shows. People are like, an Eric song. What's
Ooh,
your Eric song?
Eric
No,
song.
nobody's doing that. Yeah, this one is a newer one for us. We're gonna play it live in Nashville. I think for the first time live so far ever. So.
Yes.
All right,
we're
let's
gonna-
hear the song. Then we're going to talk about some of that stuff that you guys got coming up.
Cool. All right, let's do it. Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Lucky for you, I've been holding things tight. Keeping things real, I've been living right. I keep my cards close, I follow my compass true. Better believe me, baby, I'd be so lucky for you. Lucky for you, I'd be your ace in the hole. Lucky for you, be the wild card of your soul. 7 or 11, a smiling Buddha too. It's all in the cards, babe, I'd be so lucky for you. Lucky for you, cause I hung on my gun. Taking a side mile, put my demon on the run. I was a down in the rough, but now I paid my dues. Let's be lucky in love, babe, I'd be so lucky to you. Lucky for you, I'd be your ace in the hole. Lucky for you, be the wild card of your soul. 7 come 11, a smiling Buddha too. It's all in the cards, babe, I'd be so lucky for you. Lucky for you, I'd be your ace in the hole. Lucky for you, be the wild card of your soul. 7 come 11 and a smiling Buddha too. It's all in the cards, babe, I'd be so lucky for you. Babe, it's in the cards, you know I'd be so lucky. Babe, I'd be so lucky. Babe, I'd be so lucky for you.
All right. Very nice, boys.
Thank you.
Eric, that was very well written.
There's like a 15-minute story that goes with that when we do it live, but you'll have to come out and see us live to get the full story.
So let's talk a little bit then about where you guys are going to be playing coming up. So what do you guys got coming up?
So, like you mentioned before, we're doing the mini tour down in Nashville. We got hooked up with the East Room on Saturday night. I think we're starting at midnight Saturday night. It's gonna be.
I'm hoping 11:30. It's a full bill because for one thing we want to make gas money. So as many as many
We wanna make
people
it
in
home.
Nashville can come out, we'd appreciate that. And we're being helped out by a lot of great bands down in Nashville. I want to mention Casey Joe and the Friday Night Dads. It's a Saturday night, but look at that. The Friday Night Dads are coming out anyway.
That's awfully nice of them.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And then there's Volk. Very cool people, very helpful. They've we got a warm and fuzzy feeling from all these people. Also, Nellen and Robert Steben and his sidecar are going to be performing. So, we'll be doing the East Room in Nashville on Saturday night, and then the very next day, because we're going to play for our supper or our breakfast, we're going to play Drifters.
We work for ribs.
Yeah, it's a barbecue joint.
I was
so-
actually in a band called Will Work for Food.
Okay, well, so you get it.
Yeah, I get
There
it.
you are.
We've all done it.
But I did want to announce a brand new thing. We will be doing a residency at the Underground Wonder Bar, the infamous Underground Wonder Bar, downtown Chicago on Clark Street. You can check out our website, jungleofcities.com, to get the actual dates. But that'll be a residency June, July, and August. We'll have fun. We'll play for the tourists, and rock out the place. We also, the date yet to be announced, we'll be playing at Quenchers in Logan Square sometime in June. And then also in Logan Square is the Emporium. That's a bar arcade place, so you can come out, play a bunch of games, and then listen to us perform. That's August 9th. And then finally, out west in the burbs in Lombard, is a date, August 10th at Brower House.
So who does your bookings?
I
In case you didn't
suffer
see
the
it because you're
misery.
listening on the podcast, Eric just pointed at Tim
Both
With
fingers.
both
no
fingers.
hesitation.
No.
Yes.
I
That's
suffer the misery of having the book.
That's the worst. part
Tim,
of
can
the
we?
band.
Tim, I know this was probably one of the toughest subjects to talk about, but let's talk about booking gigs. Because I want to tell you first of all that I suffer from the same affliction in my band, where everybody else seems to think that it's Rich's job.
It's
Go
not-
ahead,
it's
Nate,
not
say
an-
whatever you
It's not
want.
an affliction, though. That's the wrong word. It's this. It's an honor, I think.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
Severe
I feel like you
laziness.
should see it that way.
Yeah, that's what
By everyone.
that's what I feel it is. I feel it's my.
It's
Nate.
like it's a thankless job. Like I'll be honest, I've managed bands before. I've been kind of the leader of certain bands, and that's the worst part of it. Is the managing the bookings, getting everyone's schedule together, especially with the more people you have in the band,
Right.
6 folks. And everyone's busy and has families and kids and this and that. It's I'm preaching to the choir here, I'm sure, but it's whoever is the one that does that in a band. Like, just buy him a 6-pack every month or something. Like, do something.
Nate,
If that'll solve this issue, I will happily buy you a 6-pack, and then you can just go take care of it. In fact, I'm just going to cling on to that. Problem solved.
That should be a
On to
rule
the
in every
next.
band.
it
meeting,
should be. Thank you, Eric. Tim, when was the last time Eric bought you a 6-pack?
He's pretty good.
He's
Oh, okay.
pretty good. Yeah, it's not like every week.
So,
All
Tim,
right,
talk to me about getting gigs.
Yeah.
How do you go about the process?
So, first off, you take a hammer and smash your fingers for 10 or 15 minutes.
Get you in the right mindset.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, you've got to put some material together, an email that, talks about your band. You mentioned the elevator pitch. So that's got to be that kind of first paragraph kind of a thing. And then you go into a little more detail and then, talk about some of the gigs you've done and give them links to all your materials. And then you send out about 1,000 of those emails and 2 people write back to you and tell you that you're not the right fit.
Right. Isn't that the best? Tim, do you find that it's easier for you to write directly to the venue, to the bar, the club, or do you try to contact promoters?
Both. I contact promoters. I contact the venues. Many venues send you to the promoters. There's
Right.
any number of promoters out there that already have things lined up. Unfortunately, very often you can, they'll have these showcases, which, is nice enough to play, but you might get on a bill with 5 other bands, and, cranking through 5 bands from 9 till 2 in the morning can be a little bit of a...
Everyone gets a 45-minute set,
Yeah,
and a
exactly.
15-minute changeover. You're almost loading on the stage more time than you're playing.
Right.
There's a lot of cutting your teeth that has to be done. I mean, there's
So
a reason why in our early days we used to call it the dive bar tour before Lady Gaga copyrighted that name. We
Yeah,
used to
how
call
about
it that because
We
every
did.
place. I mean, we were just playing and wherever was available, and maybe that's just what you have to do in the beginning to
Right.
get your name out there, get some experience on stage.
And I think that's true too. What do you think that there's one trigger? Like do you ever think to yourself like, well, this is like what seems to hook people more than anything else is X. It's like the way I phrase my emails is to be very professional, or is it purely just like, what, they listen to my tunes and it's my tunes that are carrying it, or is it that I promised to get 20 people there and that's what's doing it?
I can't say that that there's one particular thing. I think constantly improving what you're producing, your product. That's the thing, and the music, of course, but how you represent yourself, your website, everything, and that is the thing that keeps maturing and keeps getting better, and it's just a process. So that's going to happen. So some of the better gigs that we've had recently, and we've had a lot of really great gigs, and there's a lot of great venues, but this past December we played Martyrs, and we were very happy to play there, and then we followed that up, I forget whether it was January or February, but we played The Wire in Berwyn, and these are fantastic venues, great sound systems. They treat you really well.
And are they telling you you have to have so many people? Like, are you made to promise that you're going to get X amount of people into the place?
Well, they're always interested in that, but I do have to say that I went straight to the venue, and the reason they called us back was the music, the new recordings, the new songs, the new music. So in spite of trying to polish, all the emails and do whatever you can, it still boiled down to, and so that's that one booking agent just listens to that one song and goes, oh,
You guys are actually good.
cool.
Yeah.
And then it's, hey, can you bring any amount of people in?
Right.
And I think we did pretty well at Martyrs. We brought in about 30 people on a Wednesday in the middle of December with a snowstorm happening. So
Well, that's pretty
I was
good.
pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a combination. I mean, I guess my word of advice to someone out there trying to do the same thing is that, like you said, with that, get the highest quality of recordings or the highest quality of videos that you can, regardless of your budget or whatever it is. Because, like you said, it's kind of what's sold a certain venue on our product. So, the Devil's Work album, shout out to Jimmy Briers for helping us record that and getting it sounding really nice for us to use as a tool to go out and get those bookings. Some of the another thing I'll say is maybe.
So was that? Did you guys use an actual real on-Scotch studio like this?
No.
So it's.
What did you guys do? How did you guys do it?
So again, shout out to Jimmy Briers who helped us out. He's a saxophone player for Think Floyd. He's also another contact of mine. We went into the Think Floyd rehearsal room, which is just essentially like a large room. He has it's called a Behringer X32, so it's a 32-channel digital board that we all plugged into. And so I think the benefit of that, and it's kind of harkening back to an old school, maybe like Abbey Road type of style of recording, where we would all perform the song as one in the room together. So there wasn't a scratch track and then you lay down individual tracking for each, that can become tedious and take forever. And so kind of Jimmy's approach to it was to let's get the energy in the room of each particular song and kind of capture that feel of us all being able to make eye contact and us all being able to kind of cue each other with movements and things like that to kind of get those recordings down good. So, so that's how we did it. We recorded them all tracks simultaneously with a few little overdubs on some like detail pieces and a few vocal overdubs. But for the most part, it was recorded all as one performance.
It sounds great.
Yeah, if you listen to some of the things, you can't hear. I mean, you can't hear a lot of bleed through, and I mean, he really kind of worked his magic on each one of those tracks and was able to get it to sound really good for us. So
excellent.
you know, and in, as far as you're talking about martyrs, getting 30 folks in there on a cold winter's night, you know, what I'll say to that is, how do you get folks in the door? So if you go and you do guarantee someone that you're going to get 20 people in the door, so you obviously ask all your friends, and they can only come out, you know, to so many shows, and then
Right.
you exhaust that resource, right? So kind of the thing that we've been trying to do is and so I come from an advertising background, is you want to get mass exposure. So if people haven't ever heard of you, they're never going to know to come to your show.
Right.
So we've been doing some kind of, you know, whatever avenue we can do. You know, Tim makes up these beautiful graphics. He's a graphic design person, so he comes up with business cards and graphics for our website and things like that. We do some online advertising. We put a small budget towards online advertising. You know, whether or not that has a direct link to getting butts in seats, as we say, is yet to be seen. But I mean, it's all about exposure and awareness. So,
Right.
so you know, we do a little bit of that. We do a little bit of street team stuff. You know, posting wherever we can to kind of get some gravity going to people, you know, to get in the door.
Yeah, it's that's really the hardest part, right? I mean, and a lot of venues, a lot of the promoters are like, you know, I need somebody who can bring in, and you're like, 40 people.
Yeah,
You know?
and your mom will only come to so many.
Yeah.
So
And that really sucks, you know? Come on, Mom, you can get out there more often.
my mom's
What are
like,
you doing? What are you doing at home anyways?
My mom always comes. I'm just saying. But
Best fan.
yeah, I mean, you beg your friends, you tell your coworkers at your day job, you just get out, you use every.
Okay, that's the last thing. That's the last thing I want to talk about today. Day jobs, balancing life with the band. How much time are you guys spending a week in dealing with Jungle Cities?
Well, I guess I can start with that one. Tim's a whole different animal. He's probably thinking about Jungle Cities every minute of
Every minute of every day.
We that's maybe a healthy thing too to talk about, is that if you're going to be in a band and you want to have at least some kind of success, a regular practice schedule is crucial.
Right.
We aim to get into this rehearsal place at least once a week, usually on our set night of the week, and everyone we try and focus on everyone getting there.
And it's always best to have a definite day, right? It's like,
Absolutely.
this is the day, this is the time. It's no surprise,
Yep.
guys.
Yep.
So,
And-
and we're always going to do it at this time.
And we, you know, there's this kind of culture where we try and emphasize being there on time and not wasting everyone's time. So we kind of have this no noodling rule, sort of, and we try and...
Wait a minute, no noodling rule.
I know
I'm
that's
sorry.
a really foreign concept to you.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if I
but,
can stand by that one. I'm drawing the line at that one. I'm
That will
sorry, I
save
cannot
you.
be a member of Jungle City.
It will save you so much time when your guitarist isn't playing Stairway to Heaven in the background.
Wait, he's
Rarely
when
Stairway
you're-
to
did the
Heaven that
guitarist
I
just
play.
say that?
I'm guilty of it too. But you know, there's a few like simple things that you can put in place, and you know, trying to get everyone into the room. There's sometimes we have a saxophone player come and sit in with us, and it's kind of tough to get everyone's schedule line. We try to get him in there whenever.
Is there a taskmaster for Jungle Cities? Is there somebody that goes, okay, guys, let's get going? Is there somebody in charge like that, or do you guys kind of, or is it more like, yeah, Tim's raising his hand, raising his hand on radio?
Is it that power of the microphone there for you, Tim, or is it just the general attitude you bring in?
He's a stoic man.
So-
That's the embarrassing raising the
Yeah.
the thing. But you know, it is a collaboration. So
well,
you know,
and there
you
has
can-
to be a certain degree of professionalism, right?
right. But you know, you can only kind of if there is a kind of a lead thing, it's by pointing people in a direction and having them be into what we're doing.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, kind of going to go off.
So kind of back to your question of like how much time do we put into it? In a certain week, we have a 3 hour rehearsal weekly, and we put out however much time we feel like we need to at home, and then come into the rehearsals as ready as we can be, and then practice up for gigs. I've got a 4-year-old at home and a very supportive wife, and so going out.
And that's important.
Yeah, I mean,
I
especially
mean, without that, you can't do it, right?
Absolutely. This whole trip to Nashville, the whole weekend, I'm
Yeah.
her alone with the kids.
Holy cow, yeah.
So it's really great to have someone who's supportive and who's actually positive about the artistic. When you're trying to do something that is important to you and they understand that, that's a huge thing.
Well, excellent.
I'm very fortunate. My lovely girlfriend Michiko is a million times supportive and tremendously helpful. All the whatever good video we have comes from her Android phone, whatever it is, and she works real hard and supports me that way. I'm sure she would say that I must put in like about 40 hours a week on Jungle of Cities, but I mean easily there's the 1 or 2 hours a day that is the booking / other internet related type things that might be graphics and Facebook, whatever.
Right.
So that every day that hour is there. Leading up to gigs, I go through the set personally myself, literally every day. So I'll go home tonight yet and do the whole set before the Nashville thing. So there's that, and then there's songwriting, and luckily, songwriting can be kind of a natural process by which even I'm driving the car and things are popping in my head. Which reminds me, I got a new song for you. And then like when I have some free moments, in a relaxed way, then some actual songwriting,
Right.
On the weekend.
So it sounds like it's a labor of love, right?
Yes.
I want to thank Jungle of Cities for coming in, Tim and Eric. You guys were great.
Thank you.
Love the music. We're going to play a song out, I guess, at the end of this podcast. What song are we doing here?
I'm hoping you're going to play Devil's Work.
Devil's Work. All right. So we'll play out with Devil's Work, and I want to thank you both for coming in today. Thank you, Jungle of Cities. We're applauding you.
Appreciate it.
And
Thanks so much.
until next week, this is the Out of the Garage podcast. Thank you very much.
Violet beast on the rise, his eyes flash red and vile. Soulless and ravenous, he breathes venom amongst the rank and file. Cloaked in the liturgy of the golden idol's church, Pharisee, doing the devil's work. Storms are coming, mama, gonna tear down this house. Dead souls are marching, baby, everything is turned inside out. Putting on my black suit and my crimson shirt, I'm going down to the levee, I'm doing the devil's work.
Bridges left to corrode. Child trades his innocence. There's a lottery for his soul. Close your eyes, 'cause it's gonna get worse. There's money to be made doing the devil's work.
this house. Dead souls are marching, baby. Everything is turned inside out. Putting on my black suit and my crimson